Like I'm eating super as clean as I can. Like we hit Culver's and shit. Like it's as clean as you can get.
I had 3/4 of a large Hawaiian pizza last night. HUNTR Podcast is brought to you by Deer Grow.
Man, we've been using Deer Grow products for a long time. The Plot Start and Plot Boost, more recently Plot Till. Now we've got 3 new liquid fertilizers that have been put in the mix that will cover everything we could want for a food plot program.
It's huge, man. The more food plotting we do, it's like, man, the liquids just make sense. Like whether it's herbicides or the Plot Start and Plot Boost, and now the fertilizers getting mixed in. It's like, man, I can combine all of those in certain cases and do less passes for more results.
I mean, it's all about efficiency. I mean, like you said, less passes. If you're out there treating your beans with glyphosate in the summertime, you can mix in this fertilizer, do that all at once. You have the boost in there that helps the metabolism. It's all about efficiency when we're talking about food plots. And really the big difference on these liquid fertilizers is you're bypassing some of these soil limitations, pH limitations, the soil type. In a lot of cases, we talk about dry fertilizers only being available for 17% of what you put down in the first year. These liquid fertilizers straight into the plant are 90% available in the first year. Huge difference in what you're going to see in growth.
It's huge. And so right now you can use code HUNTR15 for 15% off any of the Deer Grow products on their website. And as always,
better food plots, bigger deer. And we're back.
Hey, yo.
HUNTR Podcast, episode 194. Nick continues to keep us in line.
Yep. It's good feels today. It's good vibes. We had a good conversation this morning.
That's August 1st.
Dude,
it is August.
Have you heard that song? It's like, I'm feeling autumnal. Cider gonna pull me a cupful. It's like a small time indie
go
whatever
band.
You would call that, but I was rocking that this morning. I realized it was August 1st. I
We're
said,
drinking your pumpkin spice latte
here
on
we freaking go. I did put a little excess honey in my coffee. So.
Ooh.
There you go.
Yeah, a little pollinator.
I also saved that for, I told Nick, like, Beaumarsh got me fired up here recently. I'm like, he makes me feel like a piece of shit sometimes. So I'm like,
from a workout standpoint?
From a workout, just, in general. So I went to the gym this morning and I did my stepper, and I don't normally do this for some reason, but I made my coffee ahead of time, and I left it for after.
Yeah.
And that was pretty nice. My Stanley kept that it was still hot.
Oh yeah.
It'd been in my truck for 2 hours. And I came out, it was like I just made it.
It was also 80 degrees out this morning.
Well, and that probably didn't help the chicken drums that were also sitting in a Ziploc bag in my front seat, which are in the fridge now, but...
They also were still warm. I don't understand how that's possible.
It wasn't that hot this morning. It was okay. But got showered up, got my rucking routine, and...
How's your cardio going? Pretty good?
It's okay. I mean, dude,
You're getting more strength right now?
No, just it noticeably... When we didn't drive North Dakota, I was like, it put a little... Took a little wind out of my sail as far as like...
From a
cardio standpoint. But yeah, I weigh like 195, and I'm feeling pretty decent.
Yep.
It's week to week.
Yeah.
It really is.
Well, it's just, we talked about it before. You get into that point where, another 4 or 5 weeks, then that routine really starts to break apart because hunting starts to become priority.
Well, it's a constant, it's like, do you want to be that guy that's missing out on stuff because of the gym? Mm-hmm. And I don't, especially come season. It's like, I want to just be in it as much as I can. But you also don't want to throw it all out the window and just be like, oh, I'm a piece of crap the entire season.
Yeah, I mean, so I'm not a gym rat, right? I'm home. I do all my stuff at home.
I wouldn't even call myself a gym rat. I'm there 4 times a week, 4 or 5.
Really?
Yeah, 4 times a week.
I guess I figured you for like an everydayer.
No.
I'm
about breaks.
Yeah. Yeah, so all of my stuff's at home. So even in the off season, the only thing I need is I've got a 45-pound weighted vest.
Yeah.
And I run. If
you run with that.
Huh?
You run with that.
No, I'll do climbs and stuff with that. I
was going to say, it's probably hard on your knees.
Yeah, I wouldn't run with that. No, I would not advise that. I do push-ups with that. I've been doing 200 push-ups a day.
Dang.
I've never even considered.
For the last 2 weeks.
How many?
That's a lot.
200 a day.
Oh, dude. You could do more than that.
I could. But my shoulder,
how many?
I'm still nursing.
Oh, your shoulder.
Nursing this is the first time I've really been able to get back into push-ups since I had a partial tear.
How many can you do in one set?
75.
That's a lot.
Yep.
Yeah, so I'm do 3 sets?
It just depends. If I do weighted vest, then I'm doing sets of 30.
You're doing 200 with a weighted vest.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. That's really something.
But if I do without, like when I'm working here in the office, like I'll just take a break and knock 50 out and then go back to work.
Dude, I see people all the time are asking like, what's your routine? And like biceps, there's tight shirts, but if I was
bicep genetics.
Okay, genetics too.
Yeah.
If I was going to give some advice, it would be that it doesn't really matter that much what you do as far as which people always want to know your routine and stuff. It's just consistency and intensity.
What's the dude who's all tatted up, who always has slicked hair and like just giant fucking arms? He always did like social clips and stuff like
in the hunting industry.
No, just like in the weightlifting industry. Rich,
a bunch of them.
Rich something.
Where you had to hone it down for me a little bit.
He's just like he looks like it's like super California.
He's always blue steel.
Yeah. Dude he's on roids for sure.
Yeah.
I forget what his name is.
Yeah. What's the song they're always playing over him? That's what you're talking about, right?
I think so.
Yeah.
Anyways, he was talking about like his arm routine, and he would do 100 on like hammer curls and skull crushers with 15 pounders, and he'd do three.
Oh, I thought you said 100 pounds.
Reps, and then he'd do 3 sets of those every night. Like that was his. And I mean, dude's huge, right? But like if you think about
steroids help.
Yeah, for sure. But I was like, oh, I'll do. Dude, you try to do 100 reps with 15 like hammer curls, like my arms are gonna explode.
Dude, I probably couldn't do 20.
I mean, my arms. I can do 1 set, and I'm
Nick's
toast.
like, I can do this way.
Yeah, he's like, just one. I can do 1 set, and I like my arms are like they feel so pumped, like I can't even like I can't even like bend them.
I mean, anything over 20 or 30 of anything is significant.
So, but yeah, I mean, that's the stuff where I guess I say that all kind of going back to the hunting side. It's like if I can get in a routine of like 200 push-ups, the running thing's a little bit harder during the season, but at least like 200 push-ups and stuff like that. I mean, I can do that anywhere, wherever I'm at.
I'll bet I do. I don't really count or keep track of weight either. I mean, I count generally. Like I know how many sets kind of I want to do and how many reps I want to be at. It's like depending on whether or not it's a superset. If it's not, I'm shooting for like 5 to
which I love supersets.
5 to 6 sets usually if it's not a superset. So if I'm doing bench, I'm gonna do 5 sets. Of no more than 10, no less than 4 to 6, and I'm increasing weight throughout. If I superset, which I do like, I will generally do 3 sets of no more than 10.
I usually superset because I'm short on time at some point. So it's like I've got 45 minutes or whatever.
Yeah. So I just did chest yesterday. So I would superset like flies. With push-ups. So I would do. I'll do a set of 10 decline fly, set of 10 incline fly, and then 30 push-ups. And I would do that 3 times.
So I did supersets yesterday. I did kettlebells for my shoulders over the head, and then I would go into push-ups.
Kettlebells. See, I'm not big into kettlebells, but
and then I'd go into push-ups, weighted vest, and then I would do squats just because I had the weighted vest on right away. That was mine, and I would do 3 sets of that.
Dude, squatting is huge. Not just the act of like squatting on a squat rack, but just the pose, like the primal pose of squatting like around a fire. Those couple of years where I was doing yoga because all the gyms were closed with COVID and stuff, was that dude was big on like just the primal position.
Oh, dude,
I've had multiple guys come up to, and I'm not like bragging, but they'll come up to me. They're not about how much weight I'm doing, but they're like, that's the best squat form I've ever seen. I go all the way down. I can almost sit my butt on the ground.
Well, I mean, I think the big thing people, and like again, I'm 40, so getting up there and obviously running, but knee stability is enormous. So when you're doing like lunges or you're doing squats, like anything that can build that muscle around your knee, so like, I mean, you've got like, teardrops around your knee. Like that's so critical for knee stability. Cause that's the number one injury people end up getting is they blow out a knee and they're screwed.
Yeah. You don't want that.
And so whether it's a meniscus or an ACL or whatever, like that's, and most of your athletes, when they have those tears, it's because, of imbalance, it could be like a glute imbalance that had them offset or whatever. But yeah, I mean those are the things like I'm trying to get into those like free motion types, squats, lunges, push up, like, cause you can do those anywhere. if you're hunting in the morning and you're at deer camp or whatever, you just go and hit a workout for an hour outside and then you're good to go. You don't need anything else.
It's true. I recently I've gone to Planet Fitness for a long time just because they're convenient. And I hate it. Like, I hate the mentality. I hate the business model. They have just not great equipment and stuff. But they're everywhere and they're cheap. So it's like, that's where I go. But they recently opened a Crunch Fitness right next to the Planet that I go to in Pleasant Hills. And I walked in there and I just like couldn't wipe the smile off my face. And I was like, I'm going to get huge. I just saw
just so much
how much weight they had. Like there was, I hadn't lifted over a 70-pound dumbbell in like 5 years.
Yeah.
Or done a free bench or squat. Like the Planet doesn't have any of that.
And they have it at Crunch.
They have it at
Is that their like model is like to be like for more serious fitness?
I don't know. I'm not sure.
I feel like
what their motto is.
I feel like Planet Fitness is like catered to like it's January 1st. I'm making a resolution and then I leave 2 months later.
Yeah, and from a revenue standpoint, it's a great business model because it's like if you and I sat down and said, "How are we going to make the most money off a gym? Let's get people to pay we can get them excited about it, but they're not going to come use our equipment. Yeah. It's not going to.
It's a recurring revenue. They'll never cancel.
Exactly. And it's cheap enough that they're not worrying about it.
It's just $10 a month, and then it's just open. And they can just come in and come out as they need. And I mean, it's just a flowing business at that point.
Yeah. So I don't know what Crunch's model is, but it's brand new and they're working out some kinks. Like they have way too many employees there right now. And like it is lacking a few, like for instance, I call it the good girl, bad girl machine where you go like this with your legs. Yeah. There's two. You got the good girl and you got the bad girl machine.
Is that adductor machine? Adductor?
Probably.
I don't know.
Groin like and abductor. Yeah. Like they only have one of each of those, and I'm like, that's the most popular thing. Like you gotta have two of those.
Girls gotta work on them thighs.
Yeah,
summertime, Nick.
Two girls don't lift anything besides legs. I'm pretty sure, and abs every once in a while.
Yeah, lots of squats. I have seen several on rowing machines, which is still lower, a lot of lower on that side.
Yeah.
And then just like treadmill walking, and I'm like, okay.
Yeah, you do you.
You do you,
sister.
Yeah, you want to try this weighted vest or backpack?
But anyways, I mean, dude, it's a big deal. Like it's like a lifestyle decision. I mean, a lot of people think of it as like a chore, and you're like, I have to do this thing.
There's an overkill as well. Like I know plenty of people that, I mean, they're at the gym 3 hours a day, and I'm like, dude, I don't have 3 hours a day to do that. That's great. Like, I mean, good for you. Like, I'm sure you're in great health, but like, I don't have that time.
It can happen quick. I mean, that's the problem with getting in really good shape is like, if you're going to continue to push yourself, it's like, what do? You can do more weight, but that somehow also turns into more time. And then like where it really adds up is if you add things at the end of it, you're like, I'm going to do cardio, or I'm going to do abs, or I'm going to get in the sauna, or I'm going to do an ice bath after, or I'm going to take a shower. All those things kind of amount. And so all of a sudden you're like, I've been here for 3 hours. Like, what's going on?
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, pretty nuts, but yeah, I say that all because it's August and this is like the final push. I'm sure there's plenty of guys like getting ready for Western hunts. Like, man, if you're not in shape right now, you're going to cram for what, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, and then you're getting your ass kicked out in elevation.
Well, dude, elevation's another thing altogether. I went on an elk hunt 2 years ago in probably like the best shape of my life. Like I trained hard for it. I was rocking there with 100 pounds every day, every other day. And I mean, fortunately, I killed on the second morning, so I mean that that helped. But I was hurting the first day. Granted, they knew I was in good shape, so they put me with like the best in shape guide, and we walked like 8 miles the first morning, like climbed some crazy elevation, and we were on bulls, but by the time we got back, like my head was pounding, and
well, dude, elevation is no joke. I mean, you can be in great cardio shape, like where we're at in Pennsylvania, and you put me at, 8, 9, 10,000 feet, and like it feels like I'm sucking wind through a straw.
I don't recall feeling out of breath. I don't recall. Maybe I was, but it was more like headache. It was more just like.
Yeah, that's why a lot of people people running races out there will go and try to adapt for 2 or 3 days. And it's still, you're sucking wind, but like you don't have those altitude headaches as much.
Well, dude, what I'm doing is nothing compared to what your wife is doing. Talk about running those ultra marathons and stuff. Did she run 100 this year?
I got 125.
125 miles.
She's doing a 250 next year.
That's nuts.
Yep, through the desert. And then into elevation after that.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's nuts, man. I mean,
it takes kind of a crazy person to do that in a good way.
Yeah, it's I think there's a bit of me that has a desire to get back into that because the furthest I've ever run is 63.
I mean, it's still further than I've ever run.
Yeah, I mean, so
twice as far.
Which is where like I'm in the process. I'm running fast now. Like that's the one thing like people. I don't know if it's the statistics are like over 30 or over 40, but like whatever. When you get to one of those ages, like you don't sprint anymore. Like your body just like
I can't remember last time I sprinted.
Yeah, so you don't sprint. So like that's a nice thing about having kids at 8 and 12.
Sure cops were involved, but
yeah, the kids at 8 and 12 is like I sprint now because they're sprinting.
You remember that? Yeah, dude, I used to sprint all the time. You remember like recess? You're like you're sprinting.
You just run.
Yeah, you
just run. So I'm running fast now, which I'm dropping weight to run faster. And then I'll probably adapt to an ultra at some point. It won't be a 250. It'll be 100 or something. But.
Glenn's been doing good. He's disciplined with his diet.
I
tried to coax him into a few beers and stuff.
Yeah,
in Illinois
I've been alcohol free for about 40 days now.
That's awesome.
Does alcohol make you fat? No,
beer
just
does.
beer. Just
beer
beer
does. Yeah, it does.
They were seltzers. In fairness, you could have drank them.
Alcohol affects your triglycerides, which is the fat in your bloodstream.
Mm.
So like, I had a blood test. Like my cholesterol was higher than I want it to be. So that's why I've kind of cleaned myself up just to knock that back. Which if you change your diet and you exercise, you can change your cholesterol in 30 days.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why I've been trying to work on and stay cleaner. It's not like I'm going to be sober for the rest of my life. Fuck that.
Right.
But at least for a cleanse, I'm trying to get to, I want to be mid 180s to attack some of my run goals.
You'd be nice at mid 80s.
When
was the last time you weighed mid 80s?
Probably 10 years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've dropped 9 pounds.
I think you did.
In a month.
Do you have the frame for that? Like, what is a comfortable weight for you? Because me at mid 80s, I feel like I'd be really skinny.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's probably the frame because I'm not gonna be big like you. I'll be fit.
Well, you got the same size frame as I do. You're 6 foot.
But I'll always be lean, like runner format. That's just always been my form. Even when I played.
Yeah, but you're not like a skinny dude. Like our legs are like about the same size.
Yeah, no. I mean, I bet when I ran in college, I probably was 170. Which for like a college cross country runner was probably heavy. Most college cross country runners are $150 soaking wet. You
know what I would going into college? 210.
Oh,
I had like probably I don't know, no more than 10% body fat too. I was freaking yoked.
Wow.
Fell off quick with the college diet. Like I just couldn't eat enough.
Oh, dude. When I stopped running in college, I went to like 205 real fast. I have a picture of me like bench pressing a keg over my head, and
you're like, I can't. Is this picture this way or this way?
I started to hit the gym, so I was getting like, I was just stacking, and I look thick, but yeah. So I mean, I think a comfortable weight for me would be right around 180, and I haven't been because that I didn't have muscle when I probably couldn't do 200 push-ups when I was 170 pounds. Yeah, because I didn't have any upper body strength. Like I was pretty thin throughout. So I think if I'm in 180s, it wasn't that. Like I said, I just dropped 9 pounds. I'm probably 191 right now.
Wow, that's even down from Illinois, isn't it?
Yeah, I was 201 about a month ago. So as of like yesterday, I was like one. And dude, that's not really exercising that much more.
What time of day are you weighing?
First thing in the morning.
Yeah.
Yep. That's just clean diet.
Yeah.
Like I'm eating super as clean as I can. Like we hit Culver's and shit. Like it's as clean as you can get.
I had 3/4 of a large Hawaiian pizza last night.
I had I had chicken and green beans. Yeah. Yeah. So it's just clean diet. Yeah. That's the other thing. Unfortunately, when you hit 40, like my metabolism, I'll give it credit. My metabolism is still pretty good. But I can't outwork out my diet anymore. I used to be able to. It doesn't. It's not that I get like heavy, but I'll be 200 pounds all day, and I'll just stick right there.
Yeah.
So like to get into the 80s, like I've got to be pretty clean. But it's funny, like I hit the first 2 weeks of it were like challenging. Cause like, you just find out like you snack, you eat, you just, if you're hungry, like you hammer food.
Sure.
Once I got through that though, like even when we were in Illinois, like dude, we ate a granola bar in the morning and then we didn't eat till 10 o'clock at night every night.
Mine was super stale either. I didn't tell you, but the one you threw me, I think had been opened.
No, it was fine. Don't worry.
In the box, it
was probably by a mouse.
It notably was, yeah. But yeah, I wasn't hungry all day.
We literally had I'm not shit, like people. No, we ate a granola bar. We hydrated throughout the day.
I drank like 7 Gatorades.
Yep. And then we didn't eat until almost 10 o'clock every night.
And we crushed some Taco Bell that one night.
That was great. Yeah. But I felt like good because at that point, like you're starting to train your body on like how to feed off of like any fat reserves and stuff like that. And, even right now, like I don't.
It's a familiarity like with fasting. Like once you've done it, you're like, oh, this is fine. I can do this.
Well, it's an energy thing too, because like if you're not fasting and you just like don't eat, like you feel like shit. Mm-hmm. You're hurting. You're getting cloudy in your brain. Mm-hmm. But then like once you get through that, like there's an energy and clarity about you don't have to do it all the time, but like I eat a pretty light lunch now where normally I would eat a heavy lunch. Just that's the way I am, and I eat a pretty light breakfast.
Heavy lunches suck, man. Like they're amazing while they're happening, but afterwards you're absolutely toast.
So yeah, it's just and it's hard. The hardest part is travel. Like when I'm at home and I'm in a routine, super easy. When we travel,
same with working out. I never work out when we travel.
Exactly. When we travel, it's just like, I'm looking like I'm sitting there at Culver's. I'm like grilled chicken sandwich. Like what the fuck else can I eat on this menu? Right. Like I could eat whatever I want, but like it's not. I have to figure out what's gonna like keep me in check. Same with Taco Bell. It's like, all right, like crunchy tacos. I can get. There was some chicken burrito thing I found, and it was like, yeah, it's a bit like it's still 1,000 calories, but like what else are you gonna do? Fortunately, we didn't eat all day, right? So it was okay. Jared was at like 3,000 plus.
I told Jeremy literally what I do. It sounds funny, but I'm just like I just find myself doing I will scan the menu for what has the most calories. Like they list the calories next. I'll look at it. If something looks good and I look at it, I'm like, okay, 1,000 calories. And I'll see something else that I'm like, I don't know, but it's got like 1,500 calories. I'm like, let's go for the big boy.
We have a good story about a Mexican restaurant. Let's get into, so we just got back from Illinois here recently. We did, I'm sure
most time other than hunting, we've spent out there, I think, for like a work trip.
I think, I'm sure there's plenty of people listening to this like that understand when we talk about a binge trip, which is like,
packed dinner.
As much as people think that Jared and I do this for a living, unfortunately we don't. So it's like we've got a 9-hour drive out there. We have a half an afternoon to get things done. We have a full day to get things done, half a day, and then 9 hours back. And
which I have to basically lay out in advance, or it's not happening.
It's not going to happen.
You're not going to just.
It'll fill up.
If I don't block the calendar off and be like, Jeremy, we're going. We have to go. These are the things we have to do. Like it won't happen.
It won't happen. So it's like.
And you always say yes. So.
Yep. So we basically had call it 2 days to get.
Drive out half day, full day, drive back half day.
And we were putting in fall food plots. We were spraying beans, we were hanging stands, and we were getting cameras prepped. Yep. All of those things to be done. A lot. So we
not to undersell like getting the stands prepped. There was a lot of work went into.
We had to build stands. We had to build 2. Do we end up building 2 ladder stands?
We did build 2.
2 ladder stands.
The second one was probably record time.
We were.
If you ever put together were they muddies?
Mm-hmm.
You ever put together a muddy ladder stand, you know that it takes damn near like a degree to do it.
Oh yeah.
Which I have.
Yep. Oh, dude.
And it's still challenging.
We were like a pit crew on the second one. It was like, we had that thing down.
Well, I taught Jeremy something. You want to have like
I bought it
the screw gun
the moment we left
with a whatever that setting is.
The actual wrench on it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You tighten them down real fast. But anyway, sorry. Go ahead.
So I did buy that, but I will give those muddies credit. Now having that double support for the ladder going up, huge difference.
And 4 legs, I think they go up 20 feet.
Yeah.
18, 20 feet. They were up
20 feet
up there.
So, okay. So we go out, what was that? Thursday. No, we had to push it a day. We went out Thursday. Mm-hmm. So we go out Thursday. We get there and
pick me up. You left your house at what? 3:30?
3:15. Yeah.
Pick me up at 4.
Yep. Classic. Buzz out there. Pretty smooth drive. Efficient. Mm-hmm. Probably talked 3 podcasts. We just didn't record since we got there. Get to the farm.
Which we may in the future.
We've got headsets.
We've got headsets now. So I mean, why not?
Breaker. Yeah.
Travel series.
Cornhusker coming over the knob here.
So we get there at like 1:30, 2 o'clock, and Chris Brackett comes, brings his tractor and drill for us, which was critical.
Yep.
Last year we sprayed, and we pulled my Ranger and sprayer out. So last year we sprayed, and then we broadcasted into like, 4 foot tall grass.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, it literally was CRP. We sprayed CRP and then just broadcasted.
Yeah. Spray and pray method.
Not great. Not great results.
Terrible. I think we had very few brassicas come up. We broadcast rye on everything as just like a fail-safe.
And rye did good.
We did get some rye.
Yep, rye did good, but
I wouldn't attribute any of our kills to it.
Oh, no. It was really bad. So we had a better plan, strategy. We already have 2 bean fields, which one we plan to put into brassicas.
Well, so this is the 3rd time we've been out. The first time this year.
Mm-hmm.
The first time was what, May?
April.
Yep.
We prepped all the CRP for reseeding.
Yeah, sprayed everything. So sprayed 17 acres worth of new switch, our bean field.
Miscanthus.
We prematurely or whatever.
Pre-emergent on the miscanthus and stuff.
Oh, yeah, the miscanthus.
Yep.
And that was that.
Yep.
And then a few weeks later, Brackett was like, because he doesn't live far from there, so he drives past it, and he's like, hey, doesn't look like you got us.
It was because it got cold.
Yeah.
We sprayed, and it was getting into like the 40s and stuff, and it just the plants weren't uptaking it.
Yeah,
like
he didn't get as good a kill as you're going to want. And also, we had hoped to have somebody else drill all that switch for us, and it just, because we had so much rain early in the year,
got backed up.
He got tied up and stuff. So he talked me into coming back out, so I did. June?
Yeah, June. Yeah, because I was planting in Kentucky when you were in Illinois.
Early June.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. So I went out and resprayed everything.
Yep.
And drilled all of our beans, which is like 2 acres.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what I did, right? I think that's all I did.
Yeah, you were only there for a day.
Okay. So now fast forward to this trip. Yeah, like you said, plan was to spray those beans with Glide, clean them up. We were stoked to see that they looked really great.
Well, yeah, I was going to say, we didn't know what we were getting into. We had planned on one of those being a brassica field because we're like, the beans are going to be annihilated.
Yep.
Like, we'll just brassica drill it.
Yep. But they're not. Yeah, they look really good. We got friggin' 3-foot beans in there.
It's insane. Yeah, I couldn't believe it. Like, if I planted an acre bean field at home, like, it'd been mowed to the ground.
Yep.
It was a little grassy, which we took care of with some Gly and 3-18-18. But that's what if you saw our Instagram story, we were wanding of it because it was so thick. We're like, man, we really don't want to have to drive through all this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And that worked out pretty good because it was like, 2 days later, we're like, man, that grass is nuked.
Yeah. Well, dude, a huge win was, I think, first thing the second day. Well, I guess I won't jump forward that much. Like, we got all of our brassicas in the first day.
First day?
Drilled everything, sprayed everything.
I went and picked up a blind.
Pretty easy. And then we sent Jeremy to go pick up a blind. Yeah, from
Yep.
Tim Sisk out there.
Mm-hmm.
He's a real world dealer too, which is cool for beans.
Yep.
So that was that.
Yep.
And then
first day, we worked till dark. I mean, pretty successful.
Clean
All
out.
the food plots were in. We picked up a blind. We set the blind. We needed to alter it a little bit, but like everything else we were good.
Yep.
Awesome first day.
Yep. So next day started off with a big win too. So like the one of the biggest uncertainties that we had was like we have a tractor on this farm. We have 3 of them in the barn. And the gentleman we bought the farm from still lives there. Like we essentially gave him a life estate. Technically it's 2 years, but he'll live there till he's no longer with us.
Mm-hmm.
And so there are 3 tractors in the barn. 2 we know don't work just because I've visibly don't work.
Old Alice
Chalmers, potentially for sale in the future if anybody's looking.
Mm-hmm.
But there's a Kubota that's only got like 300 hours on it.
Yep, 56 horse Kubota.
And when we were out there last time, I fired her up, and I mean, just fired right up.
Turned over.
And on the back of that Alice Chalmers that doesn't work, there is I don't know the brand, but
it's a Woods.
It's a Woods.
Yeah, I was stoked when I got there, and I'm like, oh, dude, this is a Woods brush hog. Like this is a beast.
Big brush hog. What do you think it is? 5 foot across?
6 footer.
6 foot across.
Mm-hmm.
And we're like, okay, so what we need to do is pull the Alice Chalmers out
because it can't start. We can't it's dead in the water.
It's done. Yeah.
Yep.
There's no, I don't know how to fix tractors.
Yep.
We had to get it out of there somehow, move it, and get the Kubota hooked up to the brush hog so that we could mow our clover plot, mow our alfalfa plot, mow all of our trails. I mean, we're talking CRP stuff, which we should say the last time we went out in September, we were like demolished, like, or devastated to see that they had just mowed all of our CRP that we were hoping would be like 4 or 5 foot tall. And it was, you know,
it was mowed.
Ankle high.
It was ankle high. They toasted it.
So this year we have what we had hoped for, 5 foot tall CRP.
Yeah, the blue stem's coming on really strong. Switches too, but like the switch is going to put on another 2-3 feet here probably before end of September.
Yeah, so that was awesome. And to be able to brush hog those was, I mean, that was critical. We're like, dude, we need to connect
Clean
some
trails.
of these plots. We want to have access from, you know, this and that. That was another big thing that we were doing out there is as we're hanging stands, like trying to clean up our access as much as possible, which we'll get into. I think we're really maximizing like our property lines and stuff like that as much as possible. But the HUNTR Podcast is brought to you by Hoyt.
What can we say, man? Another year back with Hoyt. We're both shooting RX8s. I'm shooting 70 pounds in the bourbon, which I love bourbon.
It's great.
And you're shooting 80 pounds in the straight black.
Blacked out as always, man. I got the, so I'm shooting the 500 grain Easton Arrow this year. And at 80 pounds, I'm flinging that thing at like 300 feet per second. I mean, it's deadly. Put a water buffalo in front of me and he's done.
I mean, we shot it earlier. You literally put an arrow through a brand new target, like never been shot before.
I know. So one other thing that Hoyt is doing this year is they're making all their own strings in-house. And so the quality is top notch, and it just really is something that is setting them apart from their competitors.
Well, what we always try to do when we go to our bow shop, Ultimate Outdoors, is we try to shoot other bows just to make sure that we are really giving everybody a fair chance.
Sure.
The reality is it's a no-brainer. Hoyt, it stands above all of them every single time.
Definitely. And so right now you can use code HUNTR, HUNTR, for 20% off any apparel on the Hoyt website. And as always,
get serious, get Hoyt.
So here's how the tractor thing went. I think that was the right call. First thing in the morning, you're like, dude, let's just do this.
Let's
first.
just get this tractor out. Let's get it done. We were there early.
Stayed at our buddy Paul's cabin. That's what we did.
We did the tractor before we put the stand together too.
First thing.
Right? Yep.
First thing Friday morning.
Yep. So we're like, let's just get this done. I went over and I was playing with the steering wheel on the Allison Chalmers and we realized like the tie rods broke or whatever, right? The wheels wouldn't turn. So it's like, hey, you know, we're going to have to just pull it and like hopefully it goes where it goes because we can't. And I was like, I thought there was a flat tire or something. I hear like air coming out. It's like, so I was like, what the hell? Then I was like, oh shit, that's bees. That's a bee's nest.
Let me tell you this, Nick.
In the seat. So like I'm sitting there like, you know, jiggling the wheel, trying to shake this thing, and I hear like zzz,
like an ominous swarming sound.
Yeah, I literally thought it was air coming out of a tire or something, and then I like listen, and I'm like, why is it under the seat? And I'm like, and then I saw one, I'm like, oh,
hundreds of bees. Like I got close and was listening to it, so just.
No, because they were bumblebees, like the big yellow and black bumblebee. Like if they were wasp, we were dead.
Some freaking Megazord bees in there.
Damn.
John, like you could have you could have eaten them and been like sustained yourself. Like so they were huge.
After a quick Google and realizing what they were, the only thing we realized is like they'll kamikaze you. Like I think the females can sting, but the males can't. But like they'll come and just like they're smack. And dude, they're big.
Yeah.
Like I mean, look like golf balls coming at you.
Oh my god.
So now it's like, okay, well, you know, every time we like got close to moving this thing, it was like they just came out, you know. So it's like, all right, what are we gonna do? We're looking around for wasp spray. We don't have any. So we go into the house. You go into the house.
Yeah.
And you find
you got to imagine in this barn too, like there's 2 barns on the property. Both are like open face or the one's just the door doesn't close, but there's like, you know, a generation's worth of stuff in there. So it's like, there's all kind of goodies.
There's tools that are 100 years old probably in that thing. Yeah. I mean, there's everything that you could want.
So we're looking everywhere for wasp spray. And I mean, that's because that's the move. You can see clearly they're coming out of 1 or 2 holes out of the seat. Yeah. So I'm like, I think it's manageable if we can get them in there and if we can like douse them, like they're done. So our farmer, the prior landowner, we're on really good terms. So like we chat, you know, we said what's up when we got in here and stuff, and he's always happy to see us. he was at breakfast, which he does every morning. That's like his routine. So I like just walked in his house and was looking for bug spray, like, because there's a little mud room there, and sure enough, he's got a full can of wasp spray.
That was like half.
Maybe half full.
Yeah,
maybe half full.
That's what
we could have gone for another can, maybe.
Yeah, if we had another can, we would have definitely taken it.
Could have gone for another can,
Yeah.
but I came back to the barn with that optimistic that would be enough. Yeah, shook her up real good.
Ew.
And we just kind of
test just to make sure, because once you commit, that better come out.
We tested her, and it was nice. It was a fresh bottle, and so we just kind of let them like simmer down, and we just backed off it for 5 minutes, and they all were pretty much in there, and I just walked right up to it and just right in the hole, and emptied 3/4 of what was in there. Walked around to the other side, hit the other little hole that they weren't coming out of as much, and like you could see them all coming up to the hole, like trying to save themselves, but like I don't think a single one made it out while I was spraying. I mean
it was very anticlimactic. Like for what was building and how many were in there, we're like, dude, this is gonna be bad, and then like they all died.
Wow.
They just like rolled over.
Yeah, and that was that.
That was it.
That was that.
They're just all like, I mean, we had a couple stragglers try to come after us, but like
they were done.
They were done. So yeah, we hooked it up to the Kubota. We disconnected the brush hog, hooked it up to the Kubota on the front, and just slowly, made sure she was in neutral, just slowly pulled her out, and she just drifted right across the barn, right to the spot where we needed it to be.
Yeah. Nice. A lot of optimism happening at that point. Like big victory there. We're like, dude, we're moving this thing. We unhooked the brush hog first.
Yep.
We just left it there in place.
Made sure she was in the Chalmers was in neutral.
Which we didn't have to do anything, right? I think it was.
No, it was already in neutral.
Fortunately, because I don't know how we would have done that, but yeah, we were able to drag it out far enough that it was still in the barn, but I could back the Kubota in, and we hooked the brush hog up, and we were friggin' off to the races.
We were in. So yeah, brush hog up, out.
I didn't get off the mower the rest of the trip.
Yeah, tested it. It fired up. Everything.
I couldn't believe it,
good.
dude. I was so stoked. Like just the fact that the tractor started, that we could get them hooked up, that the brush hog worked. Everything, like all of our pins matched and stuff. We're like, dude, we're in business.
Yeah, I think we were missing one pin, but we were missing a top link, and for some reason I had an extra one in my truck. So like we remember the top link pin we didn't have on the bush hog. Yeah, mm-hmm. So we had an extra one, and so that was good. But yeah, so we became probably the most critical piece of equipment throughout the trip.
Massive.
Just to clear things out and mow areas. And yeah, I mean,
just imagine, like that bottom CRP field is what, 34 acres?
Yeah, the full thing is 31 acres.
And we've got like 3 different stand locations kind of like at the back half of it, so we have to access, and also would like from a movement standpoint to have them connected. It's just basically, like we're saying, that stuff is going to be 5, 6, 7 foot tall, and you can really steer deer movement by
creating some trails,
and also giving ourselves access. So we did a lot of that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so that was a big moral victory out of the gate to get that. And then we put that muddy together in record time. Also
felt nice to just be feeling more at home there. Like initially we were tiptoeing. Like I don't know if we can go in. Like, I mean, it's our farm. We bought the farm, but the guy's still there. It's like a lot of it is his old stuff, and we're like, we don't want to be insensitive. So
yeah, that's where I think that relationship of that we've built with him has been really cool. He came down and saw the buck you shot in gun season last year, and so yeah, it definitely made it a lot easier to be like,
freaking guy broke his hip in May. He's like 97 years old. I don't know how. What is he? 89.
89.
I mean, he's an old guy.
Yeah, and he just got like released to like get outside again 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, and we never even
we
knew.
didn't see him. Yeah, we had no idea.
Yeah, it was here in June. He never came out of his house. I mean,
yeah. So anyways, we got that done.
Our house, I guess.
I think on one of the Instagram stories, the first ladder stand we put up was in this big oak on a plot we call the Cove. That's where these beans have just been. They're unbelievably looking. So it was like, well, we're not going to put brassicas in them. That was where like everybody was commenting over my shoulder that there was just like giant Magnum poison ivy, which we have.
I'm looking better.
Yeah, it's there.
I'm short-lived.
Yeah. So, but that stand is in. I mean, it's in a 100-year-old oak tree.
I mean, dude, that stand is, and we'll do a video on it at some point. Like, it's such a great case study for maximizing your access, and also just having. It's literally perfect.
Let's talk about it. I don't think it's our southern property line.
Yep.
last year.
So I'm sorry to cut you off.
Yep.
For perspective, most of our
See what I did there?
me apologize. Yeah, sorry about that. I'm a little touchy on it. A little gun shy.
A little touchy.
Most of our farm is western access.
Yes.
Like almost all of it.
Yep.
We fortunately have a really critical easement on the east side, which allows us to access one food plot that we have a few stands on.
Yep.
One really good one now.
Yep.
And so most of it's western access. And so frankly, all of our stands, I don't know how many we're going to go into here, we're accessing on the property line. So that, imagine on a northwest wind or anything north, you can access the southern portion of the property safely. And this is where western access, I think, can actually act to your benefit, as opposed to, typically guys want an eastern access farm. When you're accessing from the west on the southern end of the farm with a northwest wind, you can walk the property line in and have completely safe wind.
Yep.
I know it's hard to hear me just say it and visualize this in your head, but with a northwest wind, once you walk that southern property line and get into the stand, the wind is coming out of hitting your left side of your face, coming at you. And the deer are coming out of the bottom to your right. And so they're coming up thinking that they're damn near close to they're on the property line. There's a fence line. There's a barrier that's about at the end of the rope for them.
Yep.
But it's one of those spots where they think they have the wind to their favor, and you're just right there at the very last moment, ready to crack them.
Well, and I mean, this is where love it or hate it, as the neighbor, I'm blowing all of my scent into your property.
Yeah.
There's half of the walk-in, 3/4 of the walk-in is along a soybean field, so it's blown back across this soybean field.
Yeah. And frankly, we've had some issues with that neighbor. So we put a 3-row strip of miscanthus all the way down the line.
Yeah, there's gonna be a wall,
switchgrass, and Egyptian wheat this year. It's about a 25-foot barrier.
Yeah, there's gonna be a giant wall right there. Yeah, not a fence, but a wall.
Yeah. A wall.
Yeah, so we got 3/4 of the access is in along that field, and then they have a chunk of woods of which maybe half of that or a quarter of that we're gonna go down and then get into this oak tree with our wind on that, like you said, northwest wind or even northeast, all blowing into their woods.
Which there's not a lot of. I mean, it's the end of the finger is what they have there.
Yep. So I mean that is, is it Sturgis who talks about maximizing property line? That's maximizing your property line. Great cover in, scent is blowing off of your property onto somebody else's that you can't hunt anyways.
I mean, dude, let's walk it out, because while we're on that subject, we might as well. We have another stand on the northern border. When I say the border, it's well within our line here and stuff, but it's just on the northern end of the property. And so with that, we're looking at a south wind, anything southwest.
Anything south.
So we can walk that property line all the way in. There's nobody hunting directly to the north. It's just a big
ag
field like everything out there. So walk that all the way in and then slip right into our little clover plot there. And same thing, deer are coming from the east.
Coming from our left in that case.
With the west wind in their favor, and there we are, right at the last moment, ready to crack
when
them.
They're going to try to dump up into that big bean field to the north, we're going to catch them right before they get out there.
Here's the third one from that eastern access point. Jeremy and I went in, and we had access to stand last year. In fact, this is where we killed 2 of our bucks last year. And so we wanted to shore that up and make sure that we had really just clean access to get down there. Also had a thought process around
our access was sketchy last year. I mean, really, the first time I went in, we had no access. I just kind of fumbled my way down there in an afternoon when I
got lost. Even after you killed your buck, you're like, yeah, just do this. Come in over top. I'm like, okay, I couldn't find it.
Yeah.
So we took the brush hog, mowed the first portion of our trail in there, and then ducked in and stuck on that property line. So this is any west wind now.
Yeah, this is on our east line. Case in point there, just because I think this is important. It is for me. This is where ag country and open ground is a big. We actually abandoned a half-acre food plot there.
Yeah.
Because we have to access through there. So it's like if we maintain that food plot, there could be deer in there, and we're going to access and we're going to bump them. So we opted to abandon that plot and just cut a trail straight through the weeds, essentially, to our access point. In a lot of my places, that's a huge sacrifice. But where we're at, it was an easy decision to make.
Yeah. I mean, it's like they'll come to that food plot, and we have pictures of bucks coming through there and stuff. And But you had to make a decision, and we prioritized that bottom plot and access to it over the top
that
one.
food.
I think that's right.
So so access straight along the east line. Again, anything westerly blowing into our neighbor, straight in, which his house is right there. He does have a box blind there, but the house is right there. Straight down in, and then we chainsawed and weed eated for. I measured it. It's almost a half a mile.
Is it really?
Yeah, to the blind, not to death row.
Yeah.
It's about a half a mile that we.
That's what we called this stand we got to, death row.
We chainsawed and weed eated about a half a mile into the woods.
Yeah.
And she's clean.
Yeah. So imagine, Jeremy had a weed whacker and I had my chainsaw. I went first, and we're on a trail, it's
a deer trail. Yep.
Yeah, and not a super defined one. I mean, it's the property line more than anything, but we just, cleared a really nice.
There's a fence right there. There's a fence there, so the deer have to kind of use something there.
Yeah, it's edge. And just cleared it all the way out. Got every bit of debris out of there. I mean, it's
clean.
So, man, we left that trip feeling like all the access to our stands is so clean. As compared to last year, it's like, dude, we were just raw dogging everything, just push.
Well, it was a lot of run and gun. I mean, we had some sets. You killed out of a set, I guess. Well, both of them.
A hung set, yeah.
Yeah.
Pre-hung set.
The nice thing about that one, people might say, "Wow, man, that's a long ways." That trail that we cleared accesses 3 spots for us. So we have this new stand we call Death Row. We cut into an Osage tree right on the east.
You guys don't understand. I'm telling you. This stand is
I took
so
a video of
good.
it and posted it. There's a big creek crossing right to our west. I mean, a highway. And then
you're as far east as you can get.
Can't get any east.
Imagine our 2 primary blocks of timber, on this portion of the farm, connect via a fairly, maybe in totality it's 50 yards, long, so woods on the north, woods on the south, and then you have this chunk here that it's just the biggest connection on that part of the stream for I don't know, miles.
Yep.
And they're just pouring across the thing right there. And even downwind of our one food plot there, which we saw as a potential weakness. We'll hunt it and we have a blind on it, but I'm like, man, there's a lot of crossings downwind of this on a west wind.
It was a weakness last year. So we've talked about our pinch of pinches. This is the furthest east part of what we call the pinch of pinch, now known as death row, because it's just they're dead if they walk it.
That's pretty much it.
But last year when I killed my buck out of there right before Halloween, I rattled multiple bucks out of our biggest block of timber. However, they got on what is now this death row. Mm-hmm. And I didn't know why at the time because we didn't really explore it. Well, they were going to hit that creek crossing, and every one of them got downwind of me.
Whether they were going to cross the creek or they just know. It's one of those spots that those big bucks are they're not going to just waltz out into a food plot, even if they're downwind. They're going to get to the absolute safest point where they think
they can scent it, they
can
see it.
That is just what's getting me excited about stands now. Is especially as staging areas or as they're getting ready to come to food plots. Is if you can find and access that spot where you just know that they know that they're safe and they're going to be completely downwind, and then there you are right. Oh
yeah, they're done.
They're done. If they walk that death row, they're done.
Yep. So we do have the stand that you and I both killed out of. Still set on the opposite side of the creek from death row and this blind we set. So if for some reason the river's high, if we get a bunch of rain, that river will get high, we could still hunt essentially this pinch of pinch and our food plot that we have from across the creek like we did last year. Mm-hmm. So it's essentially, that's the C option. The A, B options are the blind right across from that old stand on the other side of the river, or death row on the other side of the river.
Yep.
So you've got plenty of options. In an evening, we talked about we may even come in on the trail we mowed straight from the west and not even worry about that if we need to.
A lot of knowledge packed into those setups. Lot of we learned a lot from Brackett, I think, actually, in looking at that. If we did a podcast about red and blue paint and understanding, frankly, sides. To grasp the concept of because we're walking through country to get to these stands, which a younger me might be can't do that.
Well, yeah, cover is limited where we're at. We're in ag country. It's thousands of acres of crop, and we're walking through a decent chunk of woods to get to these stands. But how we did it last year, frankly, I think we probably boogered a bunch of deer doing that. But that's just how we access. How we've cut it this year, it's shifted 150 yards to the east, maybe along that line. It's as flaw proof. No, I mean, maybe there'd be a better one if we could come in even further east. We can't. It's not our property. So we're just trying to maximize what we have to work with from an access standpoint.
Well, not only that, it's a division of sides. Like we're literally looking at, so what it took to decide to set it up this way. Well, I mean, first of all, that's just the way they access lays. I mean, we don't have a choice as which side we're cutting on necessarily, but it works out because we're giving the deer the CRP field, and we're giving the deer our biggest block of timber, which are to the north. Sure, there's going to be some deer, in this block of timber that we walk through to the south, but it's not the preferred option, and it's also like, especially in the morning, it's just not where they're at.
Well, I also think we're skirting that block. We're skirting.
We are skirting most of it now,
as much as we possibly can. Last year, we were basically cutting right down through the middle of it.
Yeah. So that helps, and so I think to iterate that even further. So talk about we're not hunting these yet. From a food plot perspective. Initially, we had just the whole bottom. Whole bottom was food plot. It was big, like 3 acres almost.
Yeah, and mostly rye, some alfalfa. Mostly rye and some alfalfa last year.
There was no real accounting for where is this going to pinch deer down in some way? Is this going to funnel movement for a bow hunting opportunity to our stand locations? They weren't really. It was just we were counting as much as we could on topography, natural movement.
Some edge there working as well.
So what we did this year, and this is huge. So this was we're understanding sides. Now we're saying that's their side. This is our side. We're accessing from our side. We're staying on our side of the creek for the most part. On their side, and this is where, guys will start to make decisions about, in our case, it's CRP, but in a big woods environment, it might be
TSI or
trees. So what we did was we took this 3 acre field and basically cut it in half. We said, first of all, it's too big. We don't want to hold deer here. It's not a holding plot. This is a pass-through plot. We want deer to check this, have enough food, hit some scrapes, and we're going to kill them here. And then move on to bigger ag fields. So we cut it in half. And so the decision you might have is, okay, so do I want to, how do I, if you're going to shrink the size, what are you going to do it with? In our case, like I said, it's CRP. So the question is, where are you going to plant? How are you going to do it? And this was huge. You can take and apply this to almost every food plot moving forward. What we did was this was per Brackett's recommendation. I think it was wise of him. We put that CRP on the northern end of it. And so that accomplished, I think, a few things. Number one, it insulated the wood block from us and from the food plot. It said, hey, that's your side. You've got more than enough security there. What it also did was it's going to force them to come on our side of it to be in the food plot. And there's no hard curves or anything in it. It's just basically, a steady rainbow or half moon now, with the CRP being the thing that's pushing them within bow range of our stand. And dude.
Well, and we kept a really nice, probably 10 or 12 foot alfalfa strip directly in front of our blind. That's just kind of it starts where we ended our mowing from an access standpoint, and it runs the whole way down the length, and it would dump into this death row trail basically. And then
the other 2/3 is brassicas,
which are popping.
Popping already. And we've got one of those muddy or stealth 360 cams on there.
Yeah.
Freaking pretty cool.
Yeah. I mean, it took some getting used to, but now it's like, okay, I see what this is doing. I see how it's following. I mean, it's giving you the deer picture pretty much up front.
Yeah.
So yeah, we've got, and we actually moved the camera that we had on a scrape back deeper into death row because of that 360 cam can capture a deer at the scrape.
Yeah.
So it's just, it's unique on how that sets up. I think the big things for us are understanding how to utilize, because there isn't that much terrain. We're using edge more than anything to funnel these deer.
There's terrain.
Yeah.
Not on our northern and southern, but on that eastern one.
On the eastern one, yeah. And then really to make sure that the access is favorable. Because I think we went through, we have, what do we end up saying? We have 8 different stands, but 6 spots, I think is what it is. Like 6 locations of hunting.
Something like that.
Because that area has three of them, but really it's one location. So I think we now have 6 areas of hunting preset, which gives us a giant variety for wind directions and access. So, you and I can comfortably hunt different areas preset and have clean access.
And we're not touching any of our I mean, don't get me wrong, 140 acres is not a small farm. It's,
feels a lot bigger now that CRP's grown up, that's for sure.
It feels a lot bigger now that we have the CRP, and it feels a lot bigger now that we're just maximizing our access. So, I mean, on that 140 acres, granted 50 of it's in CRP, we are not touching any of our wooded sanctuaries. There's probably what's our biggest one? 15?
No, that
30.
That one is
like
almost 30.
We've got a 30-acre timber block that we don't touch. We don't go in it at all.
That's the one that sits there in the north.
Yeah, not that we, wouldn't at some point. It's just
there's no reason.
Probably not. There's no reason to. It's like we can kill them on those spots.
We're situated on the northwest side of that block and on the southeast side of that block.
Yep. There's 3 of them. That's the biggest one.
Mm-hmm.
You got the other one that's to the west of that stand, and then you got another one that's on the northern end of the property that's setting up for the cove. So it's like you have basically 3 big deer areas, sanctuaries that we just leave alone, and hopefully they can get of age in there. And who knows, when the time is right, we may. Yeah, so I think dive in on some of that. But
the ones that we had in question, I guess let me back up. I thought Brackett it was cool to have Chris there to just, he lives there. He sees these deer. He's familiar with how these deer operate.
Freaking dude knows deer too. You say what you want about it. And he's obviously got a history. I mean, he's paid his dues.
He'll tell you.
It is what it is. Freaking dude is smart on deer. He understands them.
He's lethal. He knows how to kill them.
Yep.
And I would not have taken this in my own farms back home, but he's like, listen, he's like, if you own this side, like this, let's say this southern access side, he's like, those deer are just going to move to the next area and plot, and they reset.
Yeah,
they're not going to jump a county. He's like, they'll just pick up and they'll move and they'll start using this area. Now,
that's the blue paint. So
exactly,
if so for instance, like on the southern side of our CRP field, there is a decent chunk of timber that definitely holds deer. In the past, it's like there's no way you can go down there and not bump deer, not disturb the property.
It's a main corridor,
but the deer know that that's our trail.
Yep,
it's a straight line. We mowed a trail. They know it's ours. And granted, they're not going to just waltz out there in daylight while we're walking it. But I feel much less afraid than I have in the past to walk that out.
Yep.
And if we bump deer that are downwind of us, so be it. I think they'll bump to the north and reset.
I would agree.
One of us will be at the cove.
Yep, I agree. Yeah, so I think that was a big piece of understanding on how that's going to work. The spot that we called the honey hole where you killed your buck last year, we left the set in there, but I would say that we're fairly comfortable with abandoning that area right now from a hunting side, because it's such a main corridor between the north and the south. It's like if they're moving through there, we're going to kill them somewhere else.
Well, here's the thought process, in essentially abandoning that and developing these other spots is how do we have the best opportunity at every mature buck that walks our farm while disturbing as little as possible. You basically, I don't want those deer to ever know that I was there. And it's not just from like a day-to-day thing. I want that deer to feel safe to live there. I want them to get to 5 to 6 to 7 years old. And if you're penetrating your woods to hunt your best stand, I think it hurts your chances.
There probably is a time and a place, like if you're, it's like, man, I'm going to go in and kill him this evening. Then that's you're rolling your dice.
That's your one shot.
Yep. But from a consistent setup standpoint to, basically from opener to close to say, is this a spot where I want to put a permanent stand, and do I have the access to do it on the right winds consistently?
Yeah.
That's what we built the farm for at this point, at least.
Well, and I did it. I mean, I killed that 5-year-old buck out of an interior.
That was first sit in that stand, right?
Second.
Second sit.
Second. And it's great. Mission accomplished, right? I killed the buck, and I was happy. But so when Chris saw that spot, he was basically like, I would never hunt this.
Yeah, he was real freaked out about it.
And I'm like, well, but I killed the buck here. And he's like, yeah, but you could have killed him down there, and it would have been way less impactful. And he's right.
Mm-hmm.
And he's right.
Yeah, I mean, that is the hardest part, I think. I'm still not there from an adaptation side, is like my hunting style, because I'm usually in bigger woods, is aggressive. Like I'm on top of them. Mm-hmm. And like, you just don't have to be out there. Now, I'm not saying, and this isn't a dig at Chris, I'm not saying be as lenient as Chris is, because Chris will tell you he's hunting whatever 75 to 85 days a year. Like he'll just wait them out, and he'll kill them the last day of the season. Yep. We don't have that luxury.
Well, the more days and the more control you have, the less aggressive you can be.
And, we don't have that luxury.
And you're going to still have the odds in your favor. The less control, over these deer, making it from year to year, maybe you don't have access to private ground. Maybe you don't have any time. Yeah. I mean,
you got to get aggressive.
So an alternative would be, Ben Rising hunts some of the same area. Mm-hmm. And he killed scissors not far from our farm. Mm-hmm. And
Ben's got 14 days to hunt usually.
Yeah, and not all of them to dedicate to that deer and that property. So he just went balls deep, just went to the spot and killed him. The first sit. Mm-hmm. And that, it doesn't always work out. I mean, you got to have a Ben Rising mindset to say, this is the spot, and this is the time for it.
But you're shooting your shot.
And you got to get lucky too. You know what I mean? It's got to pan out.
Yeah. So I think there's a happy medium there. If it's your home farm and you have as much time as you will, or your only farm, then yeah, maybe you play it super safe and you wait it out. If it's a remote farm or you're only there for one time a year type of thing, then maybe you are a little bit more aggressive. But the way that those deer move and utilize the edges, like I would say of the 6 areas that we could kill bucks, like on a given right day, one of us probably can kill a buck. I mean, we killed 3 bucks in 6 hits last year on a pretty loose plan.
The HUNTR Podcast is brought to you by Lone Wolf Custom Gear.
Man, Jared, we are tree stand fanatics, and I think the one thing that we have learned over all these years is to kill big bucks, we got to be mobile. We've been hunting out of Lone Wolves for many years, the original Lone Wolf, and then obviously with the custom gear stuff, we're using the 0.5 and the 0.75. Yeah. And the one thing that we talked about is like, what if there were no cables? Here we are.
I really just don't know how you can beat it, frankly. But, a lot of that came, too, from a relationship that we've built with the DeQuistos. We've had both Cody and Andre on the podcast a few times. The passion for hunting, the outlook on the sport and stuff, I think is eye to eye with how we look at it. Everything that has gone into building this brand and to building these tree stands is something that we want to be a part of.
This is the 40th anniversary of these guys creating tree stands that have been critical to how we hunt whitetail deer today. If you look over the past, you'll see Andre's designs being implemented across so many stands over the years. Such a cool thing, but really has changed the way that we all hunt whitetail deer from above now.
Right now, you can use code HUNTR, HUNTR, to get 7% off anything on the entire website. Be the Lone Wolf.
Okay.
Let's talk Carl's Corner.
Carl's Corner.
So we're kind of just...
I got lost originally in Carl's Corner.
Yeah.
I was like weed eating, going through stuff.
I had to save Jeremy mentally.
Well,
he reached a pretty severe state of delirium.
This was the downfall of like the
he's just weed whacking in every direction.
The heat's coming. I was getting hangry.
This was the day we didn't eat anything.
Yeah, I was getting pretty hangry.
3/4 of the way through the day, probably.
Yeah, I'm going through. Everything's fine, and then like I hit this wall of like briars, and I'm like looking up. There's a tree right here. I can't find the stand. I'm like, where the fuck am I? And so I
saw him stumbling out of the woods, and he's like, it's not happening. I can't go. We can't do it. I'm like, what's going on?
I called him, and then I realized like the phone was in my Ranger with me. So I come stumbling out. I'm like, but I don't even know where the fuck I am.
It's not a big ditch. It's like a small area he got lost in.
Yeah. But so anyways, I was trying to go from the house right up through this ditch and into the stand. There's more distance this way than from the field edge to the stand this way is what ended up happening.
So the thought process as we're working through like access to each of these stands is like, and I mentioned most of our stuff is Western access. Mm-hmm. And so far we've talked about maximizing north and south property line and an eastern easement. Now here's another cherry on top is these freaking deer are used to this homestead. Like there's a home, there's human activity on the farm.
Have been for, 80 years, 90 years.
In the, let's call it middle western end of the farm. That's where the driveway comes in. That's where the house is at. And that is another huge opportunity for us to access some of these stands in the interior of the farm.
Yeah, so that whole area around the house and stuff is blue paint, right? Like, in the brightest blue paint.
That's where the serial killer lives, where the farmer lives. You know,
they're there all the time.
So what we did was, I mean, from a big picture scale, we stacked all of our grain food sources, like our big standing stuff, around it. Basically, like in the interior western side of the farm. That's where we're going to have a standing cornfield there. We have a standing bean field there. Boom, boom, boom. So this spot is so cool because we can literally, I just mowed a trail. They almost think you're mowing the yard. Like you just mow from the yard right up the back edge of this little ravine, cut across it real quick, and you're in. Yep. It's probably 200 yards from the house.
Yeah, and I mean, that pasture has been hayed in the past, so it's not like it's like untouched ground. Like every year, once or twice a year, they hay it.
Little hayfield.
Yep.
It's right off the road. I mean, this stand is, like I said, maybe 200 yards from the house, maybe
150, 200 yards.
From the road. Yeah. And where it puts you is in a boy, it's hard to show this, to talk about without showing it, but like there's basically in front of the stand a fence line that runs from a big section of our timber all the way to the stand, and they don't cross it. On one end, the far end away from the stand, is the best scrape on the property. That's what, I mean, every deer hits that.
Yeah.
There is no crossing. I mean, it's a thick fence. It's grown up. There's nothing crossing it. All the way at our end, 25 yards in front of the stand, I had frankly, it was one of Brackett's little buddies, Connor, helped us out with a chainsaw for a couple hours. Last trip. And this trip, I had the bucket on the Kubota, and I did some serious clearing. So I mean, I turned that into, from like a little gap in the fence,
it's probably 20 feet.
Yeah, to like a crossing. There's a major ag crossing there, and so one end is the fence, the other end is this ditch. It falls off into the hole that this stand is in. So on one side, you have standing beans. On the other side, you have corn that we're going to probably mow in some capacity, as long as it ears out. I got planted super late, so we'll see.
Yeah, if not, we'll cereal grain it.
Yep. And in the beans, we've ran a strip of brassicas from like the obvious where they're coming out of the woods, and from that scrape all the way down the fence line to like the most beautiful culmination you've ever seen. So you could literally have mowed corn, a big scrape would put there in a giant gap with a combination of brassicas and a giant bean field with the cleanest access from the house you've ever seen.
CRP basically to your back.
CRP to your back. So the only catch with that stand is it is on the western side of all that stuff. So you need either a direct...
Anything east is good.
Anything east is ideal.
Yep, or direct south,
or direct north or south. So no west winds with that one.
Yep.
Maybe southwest we could get away with blowing back down towards one of the barns, kind of.
Yeah, because it would go over, especially in the morning.
But I mean, you want to talk about? I mean, at a certain point in the season, you could probably see 100 deer from that stand.
Yeah, I have that that begs the question of like, we have no idea how many deer are on this property. Like in a given sit and or in a given like just camera observationally type thing, like we never see that many, I would say. Like, I mean, last year you saw quite a bit on opening day, but I mean, it wasn't like 20 or 30 probably, was it?
Well, so when you hunt areas that you can see further, you can obviously see more.
Yeah.
I would say the most I'd seen in a sit would have been a morning for sure. And I saw maybe 15.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And by seeing a long way.
15 in a sit. Yeah.
So, I have no idea how many deer are actually using the farm. A lot, I would assume. Especially as crops go down around and we are the only food.
Well, and we didn't hunt that farm later than November. No. Late November, we were done. And we didn't have any food sources to hold, high numbers of deer later in the season.
No, we saw a lot of deer pouring out to our north. That was a cut cornfield. And we saw a lot of deer coming out of the big block of woods and pouring to the north, on trail camera. But, not enough to say like how many were there or anything.
It would be a really fun one to throw a thermal drone up and see. Mm-hmm. What would you guess? I mean, right now.
I mean, I bet right now it's pretty low. Thus why those beans are, well, that 1 acre bean field, like we just talked about where the brass stuff are, it's getting hit pretty hard. But the other bean field's not getting hit that hard.
Well, just because they're not eating our beans doesn't mean they're not in the timber and branching out.
Yeah, I mean, I would assume right now on 140 acres, you probably have 30 to 40 deer.
That's it.
Yep.
I think there's more than that. I would say right now, I bet there's going to be at least 50 or 60.
I don't know. It doesn't seem like it to me right now. I think
I agree. We're not getting pictures of any good bucks or anything yet, but
no. And even does and fawns, it's like here's a doe, here's 2 fawns. It's
That's
not
true.
like there's
That's
a
true.
group of 7 rolling through.
Yeah, and what's making me like guess that is that there's a ton. Like, I mean, we had a lot of good summer cover and stuff too, but there's so much food. Like they could be going anywhere.
Yeah, and they're not moving.
I bet
much
there's
right now.
25, 30 deer held up in that northern block right now. I think
Could be. Yeah,
and you would never see them because they're just going north and east.
North and east. Yeah, I don't know. I would say during like as you get into November and December when we have the only food, now you're talking 40 to 60 deer piling into there pretty easily.
Oh yeah.
I have no idea. See the
Can you imagine how many deer are going to be in that pinch field? It'll get eaten out at some point.
Yeah. The hard part is, I got that. The hard part is I don't know if you talk to the locals, they're all really concerned with the density of deer.
No, they're not really concerned.
They are though. They're like, we think that continuing to shoot more and more deer is irresponsible.
Well, it's not what it used to be. I don't think that we're not in fear of like losing a deer herd. Mm-hmm. They're just like, hey, Paul could tell us more of the numbers. I mean, he's done more research on it, but it's like, yeah, I'll be off on this. But if he's like, hey, we used to have 100 deer per square mile or whatever it is.
Yeah.
We're like, what does he say? Half? We're half.
Yes.
We're about half that, as opposed to, when was that? The 80s?
Yeah, 90s.
At the 80s. So in terms of number of deer, we're way down. And I have to assume that's because of over doe harvest and probably loss of edge, and cover, as it gets converted to farm ground and stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, a lot of guys were talking about hedgerows. All the hedgerows getting yanked out and turned into just smoother ag transition. So, yeah, I don't know. I mean, even last year, I mean, there were definitely a lot of deer in October on that property, and we had no food really on that thing. So, yeah, I think the food will substantially change it. We don't really have a good bead on deer. We know this deer made it through, and we saw him.
Yep.
He still just looks like a big 8, but he's super heavy this year.
And 2 others that are at least 4.
Yep. Crazy Horse, which we may have seen. We're not sure.
Yeah.
And then who was the other one?
Just the other one at North.
That G4 buck.
That'd be 4.
Yep.
Yeah, he's there too. So.
Yeah. So I mean, we've got some deer, but I mean, it's man, most of these guys are, and this is where I'm unfamiliar with it, and even in I think your farm, it's not as drastic as like the crop rotation dramatically affects deer movement in those areas. So corn last year, whole different behavior and crop of deer than when it's beans this year.
I think the question is, when do you see that? Like, yes, the crop rotation definitely makes a difference. Like, do you see that in the summer months, or do you start to see that getting into the season?
I think you get it when the crops start to go down, because I don't think those deer, like, I mean, most of those beans are 3 foot tall around. Like deer are probably laying in a hedgerow right next to it and going to eat beans and going back, right? So they don't feel like they have to have security cover.
Truthfully, my buck activity on cameras has really slowed. Even though we've had some good rains. Well, a lot of my batteries died in Ohio. Mm-hmm. But still, with the ones that are running, I'm getting a lot less buck pictures than I was in early July.
Yeah. Well, and again, worth noting on our side, like we, no minerals, no food, no nothing in Illinois. So all of our cameras are set up basically over scrapes and or a couple on food.
You know what is getting hammered though is my water hole.
Is it?
Every other day, I've got a mature buck in there in daylight. I don't know what's going on with that corner of the farm. It's just trash genetics.
Yeah, I saw that one that was all messed up. I mean, those look like pedicle injuries, so I don't know.
I don't know, man. Well, yeah, he's one, and here's the other.
That big cow horn dude.
Here's the other one. He just walked out this morning. It's like a big 7.
Yeah. Was it split 2?
Split 2, yeah.
You
want to shoot him?
No. Baby, ask me in December.
Okay.
So yeah, I think
Amish will get him by then.
Yeah, probably. I think that's the one thing we can't control, right? Is like, the deer in the area are the deer in the area. Speaking of which, I did hit one with my truck on the first.
We did crush one, yeah.
Daylight. We literally were a mile from the farm, and we were going to get food, and so probably a little bit, a little hangry at that point. Going to get food, and beautiful sunset and like everything's nice. Some bitch comes. And you're on a gravel road, so it just locks them up. I mean, we're probably going 30, 35 maybe.
They were everywhere. I yelled like a little girl.
Yeah. Oh! And dude, you see it, it was a spike or 3-point or something.
Yeah.
Just tanked them. Get out, check the F-250, not a dent.
Wow.
Like I confirmed.
Small dent. There's a small dent.
No, there isn't.
Yeah, no, there is.
I think that one was already there.
Okay, well, I wouldn't know that.
Yeah, I think it was already there. So yeah,
your little piece of plastic sticking,
Yeah, I'm not worried about that.
Okay.
But like, no real damage.
Nice. It's a lease.
So went back, tried to get the gun because you want to shoot it, and it like went to the lead switch. I mean, can't necessarily shoot them anyways, but I hate doing that.
We debated it, but they were everywhere, dude. We could easily hit 10 deer on that road.
That's when we filmed that buck right off the road right after that.
That was bizarre. Was it right after that?
It was right after that.
Yeah, we went like a mile down the road, and I don't know if it was behind our truck. I think it was behind our truck. Like something crossed the road, and we stopped because we don't want to.
He crossed the road.
He did first.
Yeah, the does were on this side. He crossed the road to the left into the bigger bean field, and we're like, "That's a buck." And then we like pull right up next to it, like 10 feet, and he's just like
decent 3-year-old.
Yeah,
like just.
Frame 10.
He's right there. It was the weirdest thing.
Yeah. He's just eating soybeans.
Eating. Just like, and he knows we're there looking right at him, and we're just like, what are you doing? Like,
yeah. Meanwhile, that 1-year-old was a kamikaze into my truck like 3 minutes before that.
It's wild. With as much ground as out there, it's like how the chances of you lining up with a deer,
dude,
there's something that causes panic in them, and they're like, I have to get across it.
I couldn't believe it. Like we're a mile from the property, sun setting. We're just, I'm not flying. Like we're just, and that, there's nothing around, and he's just like, yeah, now's the time.
That's wild.
Freaking. So we were looking for food. All the restaurants close at like 9. All the grills are closed at 9, and it was like 9:30. 9 or 9:30 at that point. And so we had to drive a little bit north, and so we went to, what was it, La Catina? I
don't know. It was
Mexican
a little
joint?
Mexican joint. Had good reviews. Said kitchen open, stayed open till 9:45.
We were well within that. We got there at like 9:15, I think.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. Restaurant closed at 10, right? Sit down at 9:15. What do they say?
Kitchen's closed.
Kitchen's closed.
Son of a bitch.
And you could see in his eyes like it wasn't really closed.
Right.
He was just like, we're wrapping up here.
Yeah, we're kind of done with it. It was a Thursday night, whatever. Yeah. So we kind of played the, we came from Pennsylvania and we saw such good reviews. It's kind of the Tommy Boy thing where he's like, Tommy want wingy. Yeah, it was kind of that. And then the guy's like, you know what? I'll fire up the grills. And we're like.
He fired him up.
What a beast.
Yeah.
I said, oh, man. I said, we drove all the way from so-and-so just to try this place. He's like, all right. He's like, I'll make you whatever you want.
I was like, let me show you what I do to my farm when I have a big deer on it.
Yeah. So it was pretty good. It's pretty good. I got a steak burrito.
Some
Coronas.
Dude, that burrito was as big as 2 water bottles when it came out. I was like, what the hell is that?
It was basically steak and tater tots is what was in it.
Tater tots?
Yeah, and it was like sitting in a pool of like hot sauce.
Interesting.
It was good.
Yeah.
Could have gone for a little more like, sour cream.
I think
maybe some rice in there.
Bakers couldn't have been choosing. They were out of rice. Remember, came out and she's like,
maybe
we're
it
out
does
of rice.
traditionally come with rice.
And he's like, tater tots? Yeah, fuck it.
Yeah, some kind of carb.
He's like, that kid's white.
Yeah.
White people love tater tots.
So yeah, I mean, at least we got food there, and then Paul, who's probably listening to this, or Cam's listening to it, we stayed at Paul's place, which is like right up the road from ours, which is awesome.
We got a sweet setup, dude. People have been super cool. Like those guys reached out to us because they'd seen the podcast
Yep.
and they have a farm in the area and they're just like, hey, just,
Yeah, because we Airbnb'd when I killed my buck, and they're like, dude, don't Airbnb. Like we're literally neighbors. Like
stay at our cabin.
stay at a cabin.
Nice.
So we have multiple times. We stayed at least,
You stayed the time you killed
the time
your
I
buck.
killed,
We
the
stayed
time
for
we gun hunted.
gun hunting.
And then this most recent time, he's like, anytime.
So he woke up in the morning,
Checked his mouse traps.
checked his went
caught some
out,
fish.
went out, caught some bass in the pond.
Got a stock
There you
pond
go.
back here.
Yeah.
Film some bucks. There's just like
Yeah,
it's
there's-
secluded, surrounded by beans, you know.
Yeah, it was really
Super cool.
So Paul, as always, appreciates
Thank you,
it.
Paul.
He knows. So that was the trip. We did get all of our cameras set up. Like I said, they were all on scrapes primarily, except for that one 360 cam's on a food plot, and the cove is looking over the beans. We've gotten really good rain since then. We mentioned brassicas are already popped in less than a week. Is that less than a week? Or like a week exactly?
That was last
Thursday.
Thursday.
So a week
yeah,
exactly, we have brassicas popped.
probably an inch tall now.
Yep.
I mean, it rained immediately.
Yeah,
It
we've
was
got great
perfect
rain. We
timing.
got an inch in the last 24 hours.
I couldn't believe how much of our stuff died off. Like the stuff we sprayed with Gly and with clethodim and stuff. It was like
torched.
3 days later. I'm looking at the camera. I'm like, is that dead?
It's torched.
Yeah.
Yeah. So no, everything looked good. Camera's good. We transparently we got that 10-point. Do you see that one picture is those little split G2s on them? He was looking right at the camera at the river bottom.
A young.
Yeah, 2 or 3 year old.
Yeah, I don't know.
That's the only, and we got that one up at north, but we have not seen any shooters since then
Nah,
on camera.
they're there.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm not worried about it.
I did find a giant buck track.
Yeah, you did.
That he was going right around to the cove. He's in there. It's a mega.
Yeah, man. I just feel like we did a lot of good for that farm. Like I just think like compared to last year, and I mean I was happy with the result last year. This year we went in and just strategically and surgically like put everything where it needed to be, got all of our access clean to like hung a few more stands, and I have ideas frankly for a few in the future. It's just like, dude, it's set up pretty nice.
Well, and we talked about it when we were there. I mean, that was, first of all, it was a lot of work. The first half day, there was 3 of us, me, you, and Brackett. Second full day, which was, what did we say? It was like 13 or 14 hours. It was me and you. And then the next morning was another, 5 or 6 hours for you and I. And so, like, you could spread that out, like, if you wanted to, but it's like, man, once you get in that zone, if you can push yourself through that, now we're essentially, we're ready. Like, I mean, there are a few things that we could tighten up here at the end of August, but like, October 1 comes and like we could go and kill bucks.
Ready to rock, yeah. We'll swing through like Labor Day and maybe put some oats down or some rye down, refresh some batteries maybe.
Yep. But I mean, from a stand hanging, from a trimming, like everything we're buttoned up.
We spent a lot of time trimming trees, hanging those stands and getting them.
Well, so we talked about it. We put in 2 ladder stands,
especially that Carl's Corner stand we talked about with access from the house. That one was a bugger because
we had to kill that.
We had to cut a whole tree down.
The one tree had like farm strength. It was took Jared like freaking like, I don't know. It was at least 35 or 45 minutes to get through that tree.
You think it took that long?
Yeah.
Yeah, there's something wrong with it. I don't know what was it. That tree. It had like some iron in it or something.
Yeah, I think it got struck by lightning and just turned to like a rock or something like that.
It was like an origin story. Yeah.
So, but we only did 2 ladders and 2 hang-ons. And we
did build both the ladders too.
It took the better part of I would say 10 hours to put. Probably.
Not 10 hours.
Probably 6 hours to do all of that.
I mean, that one stand took 2.5, 3 hours maybe.
Yeah, it was probably 6 hours to do those 4
We had to
sets.
trim out the axis. We had to cut that tree down. We had to clear out the gap more. We had to put the scrape in. It's 5 sticks up, I think. Like it is
5 sticks up. It's a nosebleed.
Crazy high because it sits down in the ditch, and everything around it is higher up. So, but I mean,
so it was probably 6 hours to put four stands in. So I mean, like but like those are in really good spots. Access is trimmed out to them. That's included in there. Cutting and trimming lanes and everything's in there. Obviously helps to have 2 people, one guy in the stand saying, hey, cut this, cut that, cut this. Yeah.
Dude, pole saws too are, I mean, I know in the past you've always been like, oh, whatever. Well, just something short. I'm like, dude, that's the most important thing. Like, if you're hanging stands in July, you got to trim them suckers out.
We had a big Fisker's pole saw, and then I had my electric green power.
Can't say enough. Both of them, frankly. That was really nice in terms of saving effort for like lower stuff.
Yep.
But that Fisker's pole saw is serious. Like I pushed the limit with it too. Like I'm cutting stuff out there, like
we cut a lot,
30 feet and stuff. And
yeah, so yeah, man. I mean that I think if you obviously like if you're in Kentucky, like you want your shit done now, but like if you're an October start, like you've got 2 or 3 weeks that I feel really secure about getting stuff in. I like to leave that stuff for 3 to 4 weeks of like, I don't touch it. It is what it is. And that way on opening day, if I need to slip in there and kill something, like they have no idea it's happening.
I'm stoked.
Mm-hmm. And we also, I think along the way had noted several places we could hang and hunt if we needed to slide in. Mm-hmm. So yeah, man, I think it went as well as it possibly could.
It's funny how, dude, I keep saying we'll do it, and we will at some point in terms of like budgeting. I'm always blown away at how much, if you're going to call us, farming for deer, fine, or whatever, property management, maintenance, dude, chemical is a
big one.
That's a big one.
Yeah, I mean,
well, we didn't even talk about, we sprayed all of our switchgrass and our miscanthus with quinchloric.
Yep.
Which is a new chemical for me.
So post-emergent basically, but also some pre-emergent capabilities to control broadleafs in certain grasses. Basically, as Brackett explained it, if it's not like a pure line, like a pure line type of, then it can get
like a purebred grass, basically.
Yeah, like a switchgrass or a miscanthus will not be affected by it, but like a foxtail or something like that will.
Yeah.
So we sprayed all that. We had some extra Egyptian wheat that we drilled in there.
It kills broadleafs.
Broadleafs as well. Yeah. We had some extra Egyptian wheat, so that we did get some of that in to help, mainly because like the screening we put in for miscanthus and switchgrass, as most of you guys will know if you put it in. First of all, it's almost frustrating in year one. Like we were walking around there and we're like,
yeah, don't even look at it.
I don't know if that switches. Is that switch?
To this day, I don't know what young switch looks like. I couldn't.
So there's you're not going to have cover. You're not going to have cover for the first year and a half if you put that in. Like year 2 is the first time it's going to be a substantial cover opportunity. So, and Sturgis and I talked about this. He's got a deer fence product through Pure Wildlife Blends, and so that's what I did. Is I actually did deer fence on the closer to my food plot. Switch on the outside so that next year when that switch takes off, I'll just convert that annual deer fence into more food plot, right? So, and do that until you feel like you've got substantial switch or miscanthus or whatever it is established. Like that Egyptian wheat and sorghum and stuff it's going to build an awesome wall. Mm-hmm. So like it's very easy to establish, especially if you have a drill, but you could broadcast it. Set that up as like your annual screening until you have your perennial screening established.
Yeah.
And you're good to go. So we did that along our miscanthus and some of our switch just because it wasn't going to be anything this year to give us cover.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah. And I mean, it might not, I planted mine the same time I planted my beans. So back in June. So I think we were talking to Chris, like it might get 5 or 6 feet versus like my stuff will get 10 feet plus.
Are you going to spray the rest of your switch at home with quinchloric this year?
I'm
thinking about it.
Probably. Yeah, probably. I've got some areas that I need to work on for that are going to be larger warm season grass fields where I have all that Johnson grass anyway. So yeah, I'll probably end up spraying it.
Yeah. I think I might do mine next week with the guys.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So I do have some where I mixed some switch into the annual. So in that case, I won't touch that until next year, and I'll do a simazine before green up or something, and then hit it with quinchloric in the season. But yeah, I mean it pretty solid trip, a lot of work done. Now it's like I'm just waiting to see what shows.
You been shooting your bow?
Mm-hmm.
Have you?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, three times a week maybe.
Have you been tempted watching me lately with my recent change?
Yep. But push-ups are going in that. I don't trust my shoulder enough to go to it yet.
Well, you're not pulling any more weights. So
It's hold.
what we're talking about for our listeners is Bomar convinced me to go from 85% let off to 75% let off. And it
it's
was
just that simple hex, right?
real easy.
Yep.
Yeah, loosen it, move it, it's done.
Yep.
It's made a big difference for me.
From
a
an aiming
noticeable
standpoint?
change, yeah.
Yeah.
What?
From just aiming and release.
From an aiming,
because there's no delay.
From an aiming and from a forgiveness, and also I just think an accuracy standpoint. From an accuracy standpoint, it's facial pressure is the main consideration.
See, I use a kisser button, so I don't know how much mine will change.
Truthfully, I'm, and I don't mean to go full Bomar on everybody, but like I'm thinking about a nose button.
Yep.
I just, why not? And whether it's his brand or, I mean, guys have been doing that for a long time just with tying on whatever. To have an actual, because right now I'm touching the string to my nose, and so I know left and right, like, hey, it sits right here on my nose. But as far as up and down, like, there's no way to tell. It's line of sight, so that my
peep,
my sight ring or whatever is perfectly with my peep. I'm thinking that an extra point of contact for up and down movement on the nose certainly couldn't hurt.
I have one. I have a nose button on my
Recurve?
Tory recurve.
Do you? Mm-hmm. Yeah. Because that's your only anchor point, right?
Correct.
Yeah. So, so that's the facial pressure thing, and the accuracy standpoint. It also helps with aiming because I'm holding more weight. It's just the tension. Think about if you're just holding something with your left arm, meaning there's not a lot of pressure here, then it's just your left arm
harder.
stabilizing it.
Yeah, and it's harder to stabilize.
The more pressure you have on your right hand, pulling it back, it gives it that third point of stability. And so I've noticed smaller movements while I'm aiming. And then thirdly, I mean, it's minimal, and I don't know how you measure this, but there's less cam to come around and send the arrow out of the bow with less let off. And that means that, think about the distance, just like in your mind, the distance, the time or whatever between where your pin was at when you thought you pulled the trigger to where the arrow actually left the bow is smaller.
Yeah, it's just fractions of seconds. Have you noticed if you have to change your sight tape yet?
Boy, it doesn't really seem like it.
Doesn't.
I mean, I've been shooting almost exclusively at like 67 yards because that's just where I'm, and it's pretty right in there. I mean, we'll see. I'm going to eventually back out to like 80, 80, 90. I can only shoot so far at my house, but to just really test the limits. I mean, I'm grouping great, so I'll be able to tell if it's high or low. But as of now, no. I mean, I could easily go into this hunting season, and I'm sure it'd be fine.
I'll probably shoot another week or so at 85, and maybe I'll take it to 80 and just work my way back.
That's the move. That's the move. You don't have to go, full on.
Because the facial pressure thing, like I said, I have a kisser button, so I'm pretty consistent, on that.
It's not a consistency thing. It's a pressure thing. So even if you have a kisser button, if you're pushing in on it with your face, like here into your nose and stuff, that I think is the concern.
Just because you're pushing the string that has to then come back in line to go in.
Yeah, exactly. Because with your higher let off, it's loose. The string is looser, has more ability to be impacted.
It's just
by
more
pressure.
malleable.
Exactly.
Interesting.
Especially at 70 pounds, like a little girly man.
Gotta do more push-ups now.
I will say, in the past, I have felt pretty confidently that I could shoot a 90-pound bow. Like I almost thought about let's get one of those going. But
there's only 3 of them in the world.
I know. I'd have to be the 4th.
You'd have to kill somebody to get theirs.
Yes. Yes. Yeah, you're right. I don't think I could. I don't. So.
Is there a reason?
I just couldn't hold it.
No. Is there a reason for a 90-pound bow?
Heavier arrow.
I mean, you're killing whitetails.
Killing the shit out of whitetails. Yeah.
You're killing the shit out of whitetails with that.
Because why not is basically the reason. It's like if you can comfortably, you should. If you can, you should. Flatter shooting arrow, more penetration, more everything, quieter.
Yep.
So you should. But I can't. I don't think I can. Because I'm feeling like, hey, that's probably at my ceiling to hold 80 pounds at 75% let off. It's noticeably more to hold. It took a little bit of getting used to.
Yeah. Well, and again, I know Bomar has a bigger, I would assume your draw length is substantially more than Joe Rogan's and Cam Hanes.
Yeah, I think they're 28 or 28 and a half.
Mm-hmm.
I'm 29. Well, 29 and a half.
Mm-hmm.
That range. I mean, I'm between the two.
Yep.
Dude, 31 and a half is a massive draw length. It's a big dude.
On a 90-pound Hoyt shooting a 600 grain arrow, that's a fucking missile.
Yeah.
I mean,
it's probably the deadliest bow in the world.
I mean, any buck that he hits with that just like falls over. Probably, it's like a gunshot.
I would. Yeah.
The HUNTR Podcast is brought to you by Quest Hunt Co.
Man, it seems like as technology and social media and stuff just gets incorporated into our daily lives in the deer season more and more, it's like we're always looking for ways to just dial it back, spend more quality time with deer hunters, and really make deer hunting and deer camps great again.
Yeah, and I mean, we've all been part of that annual buck pull, whether it's at your camp or the local fire department, and we're trying to bring that feeling back with Quest Hunt Co. to be able to compete against other people in your state, but also be part of a national competition.
You can sign up in as many states as you want to enter deer that at the end are going to get scored, and you have an opportunity to win some big prizes. And there's an in-person banquet in February that Jeremy and I are going to be at where those prizes are going to get held out. I think we're going to do some sort of whatever, live podcast or speaking. We'll figure that out. But just looking forward to spending time with people who sign up for the tournament.
Yeah, so you can go to Quest Hunt Co. and sign up. Use the code HUNTR15 at checkout. They'll save you a little bit of money, and then hopefully we'll be able to see you in Missouri in February of 25 at the annual convention.
To make this season a quest. So that's been going on. I think that, I'm happy with that change. I've been shooting a lot more kind of leading up to season here.
Mm-hmm.
We started off feeling pretty autumnal. I wasn't...
Autumnal.
I like that word, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I have been feeling at this, like, I'm like, dude, I got a lot of tags. Like, I'll be good, get to October. For that reason, because last year that North Dakota trip came together pretty quick.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, it was like we didn't draw North Dakota
in June or whatever. We
and
knew
then
that.
I don't remember.
It was late. It was late. Skalma was like, "Hey, dude, you should come."
Yeah.
Late. It was like.
Yeah, but he was on the podcast.
It was August.
Yeah.
It was August.
Yeah.
Yeah, it may have been before, but it was August, and
you're like, okay,
and it all happened, and it turned out to be like one of the best trips I've been on. I killed an awesome buck out there last year. So we didn't draw again for muleys this year. And I'm like, well, whatever. And so we've talked again. You're like, well, come to my Kentucky farm. And not that I'm like decline,
Sure. Well, frankly, I don't have great deer to shoot.
That's
right
what
now,
I'm thinking. I'm like,
I mean, maybe they show up, but right now we're lacking.
Not like selfishly. It's like if we were like, we really want to go and that's our trip, then obviously I would be there. I'm not going to abandon you for a deer.
Yeah.
But, this morning I texted Lucas and I was like, hey dude, like, I thought I was gonna be okay, but I might not be okay.
I'm not okay.
And so I don't know. And I tested and he extended. So you're obviously invited with that too. So it doesn't sound like they've got anything coordinated there yet, which is like,
interesting.
We're probably the weird ones for thinking about it. I mean,
it's a month away.
To me, this is late. Yeah. I'm like, we should have been planning for this for months, but I think, it just kind of comes together. But it sounds like a lot of people have like life stuff going on. I think Nick's got his kids. I think, whatever. People go to work, stuff like that. I'm like, I don't know, dude, maybe we'll see. Maybe we'll see if we can get out there for a few days. Here's another justification. I have those freaking points for Delta. Remember last year I had to change my ticket?
Oh, yeah.
So I've got like $600 towards airline ticket already.
Free seat.
It's basically free. They're basically paying me to go.
They're paying me to be there.
So, I mean, how do you just like not go when I killed off freaking 160 inch mainframe 7x6 last year on public land? Like, it was just so epic.
Got a lot more, familiarity with it this year too.
And it's not going to impose on any of the other tags. It's more just like, hey, it's just more of a work thing. Hey, can I work around stuff?
Sure.
And a wife thing and a thing. So
yeah, I already told you. I'm like,
I know you told me.
You're already going, right?
Well, I'll feel it out. No. I'm gonna feel it out. Nick might need me.
He's like,
go. I
don't care.
He's like, I hate you.
Yeah. Chase your dreams, dude.
Chase your dreams.
Are you looking for a way to get out of it?
That's what I feel like. I'm like, dude, life's too short. Like, to not go is how I feel. I gotta check with a wife too.
Yeah, I mean, because it is a big fortunately there's Kentucky, but like, it's August, but then September's a painful month because it's not till the end of September that we can hunt Ohio.
Right.
So it's like
nothing really happened. It's just scouting in September. Like, prep.
Yeah, which,
prep and anticipation.
You're kind of you're kind of in it already. Like if things are set up, it's like it's a waiting game.
Mm-hmm. It's a hard hunt.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of mosquitoes.
A lot of skeeters.
It's rough.
A lot of West Nile floating around there.
I've already got so many, probably Lyme and tick and mosquito-borne illnesses already, yeah.
Did he say how the deer population's looking up there?
He didn't.
I'm just curious.
He
like,
didn't.
you know, I know it's been low.
I assume not a lot has changed.
I think they got a lot of moisture in that area though this year.
Did they?
Yeah, I think they are clearly out of a drought.
I haven't asked just because I'm like, I wasn't going,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and
Yeah.
I knew he was like kind of waiting for me to ask, probably, I assume. And I didn't because I was like, I don't, you know.
Yeah, I don't want to impose, but
Yeah.
I mean, I am the returning champ, right?
Yeah, got to defend the belt,
I
right?
gotta have to come back and defend the belt, right? That's the way it goes.
So I don't know. That's potentially on there, but I think. Go ahead.
No,
You're gonna say something. We also, just in the sake of like transparency, we were talking this morning about like we were kind of considering like an internship, like whether we would offer that. We had a few people ask like recently whether we would do that or not.
You want to come work with us?
I don't think we have the answers to whether we would, but I'm curious if people would be interested. Like, I suppose if you've made it this far to the podcast, I would say, yeah, hey, write us if you're interested. I mean, I don't know exactly what that would look like.
Nick would be your boss.
Nick would have to make the call. Nick would obviously be your boss, yeah, but
obviously.
And I think that would probably be catered toward like some assistance with production and stuff like that, and maybe looking at some more in the field stuff, which I think we're excited about. Looking at,
doing
this year and stuff.
Yeah, during the season, leading up to the season and during the season.
So yeah, if you're interested, probably just stay at my house, eat our food and whatever. We'll put you up. I don't know if it would be a paid internship or not. Probably not, but probably have to pay you something.
Probably have to sleep with Buckley in his kennel.
Yeah, I got a nice crate here for you. It's a big crate.
You only get Paige Dairy Mart ice cream, so like you just have to eat ice cream.
Yeah, definitely free ice cream.
Free ice cream. It's a pretty good one.
Free ice cream for sure.
That's not bad.
So anyways, I mean, why not?
Sure.
See if there's an interest there.
Yeah, write us. You got to be here.
Oh, also, I don't have it on me, but apparel's probably live.
Should be live
by the time this drops.
Yeah, so let's talk just briefly about it so people know. So we've got, I don't know, handful of designs out there from a t-shirt side, one hoodie, I think.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And then we've got...
It's cool stuff. It came from like a lot of some of the pictures that Jeremy and I have taken.
We've been working on it for a while.
Yeah, we worked with, frankly, TJ's team to digitize some of them and kind of work them into some designs. So I think Jeremy and I are pretty stoked about them.
Yep. And there's 4 color options, I think, for each. For you bigger guys, we finally have double X.
All the way up to
X,
4XL.
Up to 4XL.
You'll pay a little bit more for it, but yeah, 2XL to 4XL.
Yep. So they're there. They're available.
For the extra, small guys, we got extra small too.
Extra small. Do we have extra small?
Extra small.
That's a tiny person.
Yeah, small man.
Yeah. So, or kid. So those should be live. We've got some hats coming too.
Yeah. So the deal with the hats was we have a super limited quantity, close to none, like us, because
you scraped them.
Because the first time we got them, the logos were crooked.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's a great company we're working with, but there was an issue. Yeah, it was a little cockeyed. So we're getting those corrected. I have a super small batch in the meantime. The next will be here like August, September time frame. So we'll probably, we'll sell a super small quantity, and then we'll put like a notify me like when
we do or a back order
back in stock. Yeah, I don't want to take anybody's money before we have them type of deal, but we'll get them to you if you want them.
Yep, cool. So yeah, those should be live on wearehunter.com. Nick will drop a link in the description on that stuff.
Anything else while we have just the 3 of us here? Have we missed anything? We're doing some filming next week.
We are.
Which is pretty cool. I think we've talked about it already, but we're going to be in a film with Hoyt next year. It's going to drop, I think, sometime. So, I mean, don't get excited about it yet, but we're going to be some of the preliminary filming for that next week.
Yep. Might be the first time some of these guys really get to see more of your farm and my Kentucky farm, because we're going to film those 2 as features.
Which is a lot of fun.
Yeah.
And we'll do a podcast with Jacob and Matt, are the 2 guys leading the film project. They're from North Carolina. They're going to be on the podcast, whatever, in a couple weeks. So you kind of get to see the face of that and kind of talk through it. And they've become pretty good friends here recently, which is fun.
They're the ones who are encouraging us to do more field stuff.
Yeah. Yeah.
They're like, you guys should do more field stuff. I'm like,
I know. I think it's common. Like we're not. Yeah, I mean, we're not gonna make you promises here, but I know a lot of people want to see what Jeremy and I are actually talking about, and this podcast is proof of.
And to the haters that we actually do that stuff, and we don't just sit here and talk about it.
This could be like a good opportunity. You know, we were kind of brainstorming just like in the field stuff, content ideas this morning. Maybe if our listeners have, what do you guys want to see? Let us know.
Yeah.
No nudes.
No nudes. That's off limits.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
The HUNTR catalog, the guys of HUNTR catalog.
Yeah, we're actually launching a calendar. Just kidding.
Freaking funny. I think that's it, man. We just it's August.
Where are we at here? Yeah, it's August 1st.
So this is dropping next week, right? Yep. So it's August 6th.
Well, it'll drop Tuesday, so it'll be August 6th. You're right.
August 6th.
I'm an idiot.
Nice. He's good with the dates.
He's so
and
good.
numbers.
I like that, huh?
In my head, I'm like, it's Thursday. There's no way. It's August 1st. But I guess it is 5 days away.
Yep. August 6th, this will drop. So yeah, I mean, we're in the heat of this thing.
And I guess as a bit of a teaser, I don't know if it's like exactly this week or next week, but we got a pretty good string of doubles coming.
Yeah.
Yep.
In the future. So
bonus episodes on Thursdays.
We've got some really cool podcasts coming up. So
yeah, I know we talked about like Seabury and Sumner's coming up. We've got some others before that even dropping on some things. So
shall see.
Yeah. So no, we got good stuff coming, man, and we appreciate everybody, support and comments, and I'm sure just like everyone, we're just as amped for this freaking season to like just get here.
I say it every year. That's the best thing about deer season is like there's always another one coming.
Mm-hmm. So yeah,
and sure enough, here it comes.
Here it comes. So yeah, I mean, at this point, it's just grinding on the work side and grinding on the prep side so that when it actually happens, we can sit back and enjoy it and get into it. But yeah, we appreciate everyone listening to this episode of HUNTR Podcast with just Jared and I, 194, and we'll catch y'all next week.
Later.
Take me